Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea. Welcome back to another high level game of StarCraft 2. Today, bottom left as the Red Terran, it's Ryung playing for Team GP. And in the top right as our blue Protoss player playing for Alpha X, it's going to be Classic. Now Ryung coming off a pretty sick performance in the latest Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, showing the world that he is a pretty darn good Terran player. At least he's very good at his preparation and he knows the tricks of the trade. Managing to get a top 12 at, well, the biggest tournament of the year is extremely impressive. I would not say that Ryung usually is a top 12 player, but I think in that tournament at least he was. Managed to make it out of that lower bracket initial round of 36 qualifier round into his round of 24 group. And there he barely managed to kind of sneak by. He did end up losing to Rogue, of course, 3-1 in that round of 12. But an impressive performance. And a lot of that was on the back of his fantastic TVP. And he had a couple of cool build orders there. Well, a couple. He had one cool build order there that we saw repeat many times. And that was the factory opener into a fast second and into a fast third barracks. Kind of faking to play factory openers. Now, I'm not saying he's necessarily going to be doing that again, but it's of course completely possible that he will. You see, not too much gas mining, but it won't matter. It's going to be a starport anyway. Hellion as the first unit as well, and marine production for now. What do we have? Oh, wait, there's a zealot? Wait, why is there a zealot here? What happened here? Why does Classic have a zealot? A zealot and 2 adepts. This is a weird wall, by the way. This is a really, really odd wall. You never see a wall like this. Like, actually never. Because you need to constantly have a unit there to block it off properly. I guess that's why he built the Zealot. There's not going to be a Reaper though on the side of Ryung, so Classic can move it away. Follows this up with a robotics facility. Classic has a lot of funky build orders with that Stargate opener. I've seen him play a lot of weird crap, and this is definitely something a little bit off again. Oracle into robotics facility, and the reason why this is a little bit weird is because whenever people open up with a robotics facility, they much prefer opening up with phoenixes rather than an oracle, because a robotics facility does not provide any anti-drop defense and neither does an oracle. So basically you're getting two things right now that do not help you whatsoever against possibly the biggest threat that the Terran has, and that is drops. Another question you can kind of ask yourself here. Wait, where are all the factory units? Oh, they were hiding. Well, they didn't quite get what they wanted, and this Oracle will get 4 or 5 kills. It's just a really weird start here for Classic. I don't mind it, though. I like it when people play something different. Okay, he gets Oracle, fast Robo-Bay, and then starts the Phoenix production. So this is a really late start of Phoenix production, but I don't really mind it. This gets a pretty quick third phase as well. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of this, but I do like it. As we see Ryung deciding to follow this up with a Raven. The scary thing with a Raven is that if you lose the Raven, you're very committed to a 3-Rex push, most likely. If you lose that Raven, that 3-Rex push will never succeed. You know, there's going to be Colossi out. There's going to be a decent amount of Phoenixes as well, so drops will be impossible. It's going to be extremely, extremely hard. However, if you keep the Raven alive, oftentimes there is a bit of a chance that something that you are trying to do might just work. Being tanks here does actually kind of surprise me as well, though. It's been a weird opener, but the reason for that is because Ryung believes that he is playing against Oracle into Blink, as that is the standard. No, he's actually scouted the Robo, and he scouted it really fast. Well, in that case, I don't quite understand this. So, the tanks are okay against higher Stalker numbers, but if you think of what tanks will do in this situation in combination with a Raven, it's really not that much, because initially you want to be getting into a good position with this army, siege up, but there's no real timing for these interference matrices in that case. Like, you can't really jump on top of a Colossi after interference matrixing it if you have 3 tanks in your army. So yeah, the Raven is just going to be used as a harassment tool. This almost feels like a fake push out in which Classic is forced to build a couple of batteries, maybe cut his worker count a bit, or you know, build more units rather than adding infrastructure. That doesn't quite seem to be the case though, as Classic is just continuing worker production, getting his charge, getting his forge. Single drop is going to get sent out towards the far right side. This will get spotted by this pylon that is over here, as Classic is moving into a pretty decent start. I really do like this start here for Classic. I'm not quite sure if he spotted that. I think he might have just barely missed it. Good control there on that medevac. Medevac is going to enter the main base, and immediately we will need to see Classic respond to this. There's actually no Phoenix alive anymore. Did he cancel that one Phoenix? Yeah, he must have. Never actually ended up getting that Phoenix. Now this battery will try to heal this forge, and it will stay alive. Combat shield is not done yet, so there's absolutely no use keeping these marines in your opponent's main base. A single Colossi swipe will injure them so much. There's absolutely no way they're going to survive the second one. Now this pylon will get taken out by this drop, or at least should get taken out here with infantry weapons level 1. That will indeed be the case, and there's still no catch whatsoever in this army. No blink, no phoenixes, and that just means that whenever there's a drop, Classic needs to split his army, and probably actually kind of pre-split the army as well, because without a pre-split it's really difficult to get in the right position against drops. I think Classic is looking forward to marching across the map, trying to deal a bit of a blow, maybe cancel a fort base, kill a couple of workers. So we see the prison being built right now, Templar Archives on the way. And the Templar Archives is always an investment into the short term. At least in this matchup, because Ghosts are the absolute hard counter to the Archon. There's nothing you can do with Archons against Ghosts that makes them good. It's just a unit that sucks. However, if you hit with Archons before Ghosts are out, they can be extremely powerful and extremely scary to deal with. So yeah, the Classic is trying to move out right now. He uses this one part of his army to try and clear the bottom side. There is a drop in his natural, and that will delay his push out by a little bit. And every second that goes by in which you're not pushing is a second in which Ryung can potentially be getting Ghost out. The Ghost Academy has finished. Perhaps there's a couple of Ghosts on the way now. Yep, there comes the first 2 Ghosts. It's going to be super helpful already if Classic had actually wanted to push out. Classic perhaps a bit afraid. Is instead just going to be adding another robotic facility as well. There is a second forge already, although it is not currently being used. Only a single forge is actually, this is the second forge researching the armor, but there's no, okay, there we go, +2 starts as well here on that first forge. And I think that Ryung is setting up for a max push here. This is a playstyle that a lot of the Koreans and Clem like to use, and it kind of revolves around a tech-heavy 1-1 timing aimed at the Protoss third base. And while this push is moving out, often the fourth base gets thrown down. This is a play that you just see very, very often when these Korean Terrans are playing. It's not quite as many tanks usually, but I like to see it. The Raven also still being around could actually be a useful tool here. What's in that prism is just pure zealot. Tanks are going to be sieging up. EMPs are kind of missing here. Oh, we get the first interference matrix. I'm not quite sure where the other energy went. Vikings are dealing a lot of damage, but I do believe that, well, Ryung's actually going to be cleaning up this army quite well. This army isn't even stimmed yet. The entire bottom side just was walking around unstimmed, at least towards the end. I'm not quite sure if he stimmed at the start, but they walked way too slow there. We'll clean up every single important unit, and I actually would like for Ryung to move back right now. This feels counterintuitive, but often after winning a fight like this, if there are no ghosts remaining in the army, and there's no liberators either, there's no real use to continue pushing on unless you had a massive win. But this was an even trade where you just reset your opponent's robo units, and in that case what you want to be doing is you want to add 2 to 3 ghosts into the mix, add these extra barracks, make sure your fort base is mining, and then you can kind of do these either the split army pushes, or you can do a massive push on towards a fort base again, preferably where there's a bit of a choke before the second or the third wave of robo units arrives. You're going to be fighting either pure Colossi or pure Disruptor. It can't really be a mix, because then it would be like 1 Colossi and 2 Disruptor. I guess it's possible, it's just not very useful. And because you still have Vikings alive, Colossi just aren't as great, and pure Disruptor just doesn't really have a big backbone for an army. So yeah, I like the way that Ryung is playing this, and he really should be kind of gearing up for another push. Has not started his +2 attack yet. He does have the double E-base. And this could be a conscious decision. It could also be a mistake. I mean, there's some money in the bank right now. Okay, yeah, 2 2-stars. It could be that he just wanted these triple ghosts extra before he wanted to start to 2, but he already had 3 ghosts. So he goes up to 6. That ghosts are absolutely going to wreck this army. They'll shred this, right? This is an army that is heavily reliant on the shields. There's no disruptors whatsoever in this group of units. This is actually going to be difficult. Triple Robo not producing any disruptors? I'm surprised. I really believe that the disruptors are the key to deal with an army that consists of Ghost, Viking, Marine, Marauder. And let's not kid ourselves, this is a lot of ghosts. The Viking count isn't quite as high as ideally it would be. Perhaps you'd prefer having 10. Maybe you want to have a couple of extra Marauders. But this is still a scary army. And if this army just meets up with itself, you know, and all the parts of the army come together, I really do believe there is a decent chance here that the Classic gets absolutely blasted. Just gets destroyed here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not, but I'm surprised to see Classic being so aggressive. Now, he's up in upgrades, that's true. He's up 2 upgrades. But EMP is just such a good tool here. Here comes Ryung moving forward. EMPs are hitting from a far away distance, blinks back. Yeah, Classic needs to run for his life right now. 1 Colossi dies, another Immortal dies. Ooh, 2 more Colossi will fall. Yes, both of them will indeed. And that's just extremely painful. This is... Yeah, it was a surprising move out already for me. I'm just confused why he would go there, especially because he's transitioning into Tempest. He's getting his disruptors out. He's trying to add a lot of static as well, but these positions without Storm are often difficult to hold. Cannons and batteries are good, but if there's EMPs, Marauders and Medevac, they're not that brilliant. You add a Templar in that mix and all of a sudden any type of static becomes like 10 times more effective because it just becomes really difficult to micro against. Now, Disruptor should be able to hold the front here, and we immediately see the switch out of Ryung into the advanced ballistics. I'd love to see ship weapons level 2 starting as well. I mean, there's plenty of money in the bank, Ryung. We really could be using some extra upgrades. 3-3 and +2 ship weapons. Classic feeling a little bit ballsy here, saying, hey, I can throw these Disruptor Purification Novas at you all day, buddy. I have Tempest, I'm outranging you. Ryung does need to be very careful because one bad fight and it could be over for him. Feels confident in his ability to fight though, as he throws on a couple of big EMPs. He's going to completely blanket this army in them. As this is now a shieldless army, Super Battery could be used, of course, to try and recharge some of those shields at least temporarily. 2 more starports on the way. Big drop is being loaded up as well. It's being sent off towards the bottom side. There's no vision whatsoever on the map here for Classic, who's desperately trying to get rid of these Zealots. This is not a run-by that really needs to do damage. This is a run-by that says, hey, I have a lot of Zealots in my army, and Zealots are really, really bad. So I kind of want to get rid of them. Quick lift here on the depot, good call. Yeah, these Zealots will achieve absolutely nothing. Except perhaps that Classic is now allowed to move on the map, and often Disruptors in an aggressive position can be very powerful. However, if you're fighting against the army that Ryung has, I don't think Classic can actually do too much. Ryung's going to split off his army into 2 parts, and I think this is the correct play. If you're playing against someone building Tempest and Disruptor, what is the main weakness of this army? It's going to be mobility. It is the fact that this army is not quite as powerful split off as it is when it is together. So we have this left side moving in, this right side moving in. This right side might just get caught though. There's no Templar here. Storm is about to finish up though. Nothing in the natural either. So we see an aggressive scan coming out of Ryung. These robots most likely are going to be falling. That means that every Disruptor that now gets taken out will not be coming back. The production is at 4 starports, 8 barracks, plenty of production, plenty of money in the bank as well. And Ryung's just pushing in right now. He's going to be taking out the natural base. A couple of workers will fall. That right side base also died. I actually think that Classic wants the base trade here, as the Vikings get sent back home. There's nothing really here that could warp in and defend this. So a recall, oh my god, slightly too late with that EMP on the army. But now this is extremely vulnerable. Look at this. You see the immediate scan out of Ryung realizing what's happening. He wanted to jump on that. There's a lot of Vikings in this army. 12 Vikings. There is a Raven flying. Is this the second Raven? Did he? Yeah, he rebuilt a Raven for the anti-armor missile. That is really sick, and this is something you never see. All the Terrans complaining that the Raven is too difficult to micro, too difficult to use, but here we see Ryung. He says, no, actually, it's completely fine, and, well, as he says that, he loses the Raven into a couple of Tempests. He was looking for a good anti-armor missile, but instead he got a peaceful death. So, yeah, something of value as well for him. 7 Tempest out, 2 more on the way. I like this army out of Classic, but you can only play this army if you have a very stable defense. And with a stable defense, I mean cannons at every base, Templars at every base, and that does kind of seem to be what's happening here, right? There's no Templar here, but it's a powerful army. This is an army that needs to take very long. It has fights that last forever, because the longer you're fighting, the more your long range and your disruptor shots are going to be helping out. An Oracle here would be grand to have, honestly. Just having that Revelation tech. Oh, huge EMPs! Hitting absolutely everything. Ryung is moving in at a time where I don't think Classic was expecting this at all. And all of these Tempests are going to be going down. However, with that large Viking count in the air, the question is the ground army big enough? The splits once again good out of Ryung as he takes a 40 supply lead. 7 DTs get warped in immediately, and that's at home to deal with the drop or whatever that was happening over there. I have to admit that I missed that. Liberator switch immediately is... Oh no, Ryung forgot. He forgot to up the depots. An entire army is just stuck behind the depots. And Ryung isn't noticing it. He must be looking at his army saying, hey, this is a small army. I'm surprised that, you know, I didn't win that last fight harder. Well, that's perhaps because there's legitimately 45 supplies standing in your main base, locked behind the gates. Currently you're maxed and your army is tiny. Another Raven gets built, and now Ryung does notice. He's like, uh-oh. That army could have been over here already, couldn't it? And the answer to that is definitely yes. Ryung's still in a massive lead, though. Just destroying that fight. Tempest are not good if they get engaged upon immediately. Tempest require a lot of time. You need to zone out the opponent army with storms and disruptors to make sure that your Tempest can shoot for a very long period of time, and you just pick off unit after unit after unit. Liberators are setting up for Tempest, not enough to one-shot those Liberators. That means that this left side is now sealed off, and Ryung can decide what to do. Will he push forward? Will he push on towards this high ground? He decides to go on towards the high ground, and with these Liberators can completely zone out this ramp. There we go, 3 lips in position, and that means that no ground army is going to be allowed to walk up here anymore, at least not without taking major losses. The Tempest start getting to work on these lips, but before they can even do that, they need to take out these Vikings, and the Vikings trade so well against the Tempest. 1 Tempest goes down. We only have 2 Tempests remaining right now. One of those Tempests is here at the 6th base on the right side, so that's going to be completely useless. Marauders are dealing a lot of damage, and I do think that Ryung has managed to break Classic here. GG gets called, as there's too many Marauders still alive. The money for Ryung still very high. Fantastic display of late game competence out of Ryung, who once again rebuilt a Raven as well. He seems to be extremely keen on rebuilding these Ravens with any type of late game army. He also does it with Zerg when he's playing mech. He just loves that anti-armor missile, really seeing the value of that -2 armor. We haven't seen it come into play, but great control, great splits, and a fantastic player to watch, this Ryung. He really has a bit of a second career, I would say. Like the second coming of Ryung here is powerful. Feels like he really knows what he's doing. He's a competent late game player. Classic, not quite up to the task. And that's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thank you, and bye-bye.